All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Project Clinic. This is where we gather the troops, gather the community, talk about projects, answer questions here and there, generally talk shop. Today we've got a really fun one. Christian's joining us. He's been working really hard on his prototype balena block. We dropped the blog post on that. Was it last week or so?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're really excited to see, there's one thing to just read about it, but to see what's going on is a whole other thing. Before we go deep, let's go around and do some intros. Andrew, content strategist, product builder, build things, break things, make web things, having a lot of fun. What about you, Kyle?
God, it's so hard to top that. Kyle, OS developer, working on a lot of things right now, but my focus is currently on test automation.
Christian, just got a nice webcam finally. I work in labs, and yeah, I'll show you a bit about robot block in a bit.
Hey everyone, Alan, also working in labs, making cool projects to demonstrate, show off our platform, and solve any problems that people might be experiencing.
Alan, where can I get one of those hoodies? I think more important. I didn't know we had hoodies.
You have to go back in time to 2019, our summit, where they were distributed.
Okay.
Limited.
Next question. Do you think that one would fit me?
Not at this point. Sorry, it's 2 years old. It's gotten a bit small.
All right.
It's a little tight.
Noted for a swag team.
Do you think there's a demand for like vintage swag beyond like employees? Like, do you
I think that you mean just like old logos and things. Like, what's vintage swag mean?
Yeah, old logos and things. Looks like Alex is on it. Best balena swag is pre-2020.
Pre-20. Well, let's put this up for auction and see what kind of bids we get.
There you go.
Get an idea.
Wait. That only helps you, Alan. I see what's going on here.
No, it helps us for marketing as well to gauge interest in vintage. I just have a time zone question here. So, Andrew, you have sunrise going on there. Christian, are you all at sunset? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's pretty much sunset.
Wow.
By the time we're done with this, it's gonna be night. Yeah.
So we're really spanning a lot of time zones here. That's
yep.
Christian, you said it. You should have said I'm in the other room at Andrew's house. That would have been very believable.
Yeah, well, I don't have that background anymore, so.
Darn it.
Just for anyone watching, at some point we took a picture of Andrew's backdrop and we all used it in a call. It was hilarious.
We'll put that up on the store too.
Andrew, do you still have my background?
I do. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
Before this totally.
Yeah, I'd love that background. It's amazing.
So before we jump into the robotics demo, someone did ask me to remind everyone that the Balena Hub Challenge closes the end of November. So let's drop this link in here. Come on, internet. Let's do this. There we go. Through November 30th, any project or fleet or block that's added to Balena Hub gets entered into a chance to win a cash prize and be featured on Etcher. So if you've got something you've been working on, haven't submitted it yet, doing some final touches and whatnot, please do so before the end of the month. Cool. All right, Christian, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Do I start with a disclaimer that the demo isn't completely working, or do I show you and well, too late?
So all in.
Demos are always in progress.
Yeah, obviously. So yeah, I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll just start with the UI for the block, and then I'll walk you through all the functionality through the UI. Let me just share the screen. Hello.
Hey, bud.
Solution.
All right. Yeah.
That was a good question here. Before you begin, give the folks a reminder on what a block is.
So, block is something you download from Hub, and something that gives you some functionality, but does not do anything by itself. So the way this works is Block enables all kinds of functionality for your robot, but doesn't drive the robot for you. that would be other containers that you build on top. So blocks are basically building blocks for different solutions. In this case, robotics, but we have many different blocks. We have frame buffer, we have X server. So you plug we have browser, and you just download them, plug into your solution, and run that container, and you can build along with that.
And they're opinionated too.
Now, if there's a better definition of the block, please.
No, you're solid. I'd take it one step up for like the less technical folks like myself. They're like pre-made drop-in containerized functions for a project, right? So
fair enough.
I had a great experience with a couple of them because I'm like, man, I don't really want to like code up this dashboard to connect to this MQTT broker, and instead it's like, how about this block and this block, and then just a very little amount of Python, and all of a sudden I had like a bare bones thing going. And since then we've added so many amazing blocks to the list that we're starting to see that goal of like taking away all the friction from any edge developer or product build out there to make their own thing.
I mean, guys, it's literally called blocks, and no one's gone, it's Legos for IoT.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're waiting, Lucian. We're waiting for the sponsorship, but thanks for that.
Yeah. Have you arrived?
DFC takedown notice incoming.
Have you arrived to Snark or to give us our affiliate links for Lego?
Oh god, I wish I had some affiliate links for Lego. I mean, I was gonna buy a bunch of Lego, and then I realized that it's actually a lot cheaper to just buy a few 3D printers.
Yeah. You are Lego now. Hey, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then Christian can get his demo up and ready.
I'm the balena hiring manager.
I thought you were Chief Carpentry Officer.
I'm also Chief Carpentry Officer. I'm also a technical lead on Jellyfish and Product OS, and cat herder.
Oh,
nice.
Welcome, Lucian. All right, Christian.
All right.
The floor is yours.
So the whole idea of Robot Block is to have one configuration file for everything. So if anybody had experience with ROS, you know there's going to be thousands of launch files, thousands of terminal sessions at the same time. It's really hard to manage. So what I wanted with Robot Block is to take the same philosophy that we have IoT devices and fleets of IoT devices and bring it to robotics. So the main and the most important thing about the Robot Block is the config file. Config file that you can either preload or edit live using this UI. Basically, here you define all the components you have. So that's hardware, the camera server, the motor driver, all kinds of sensors, and then it also for these, Robot Block has a library. Library that we would like to be extended by third parties, so have contributors to this. The idea would be, I'll just show you a tiny bit of the code. So in library, you have all kinds of different motor drivers and components and all that, right? And it's usually it's as easy as just taking the demo that Spark Fun or Adafruit offers and modify it to respect ROS packages and how the data flows through that. Once you have a package, you just drop it into this folder. And the Robot Block.
Can you zoom in a little bit, Christian?
Sorry?
Can you zoom in just like 1 or 2 steps?
Yeah, sure.
It is a little small. There we go.
That's a bit too much.
There you go,
yeah.
There you go.
So basically, this part, for example, is just shamelessly copied from Spun, and then this is what takes the ROS messages and turns them into wheel movement in this case. But could be, for example, an IMU sensor. Exactly the same thing. You take the demo that they give you and enable ROS messages. Once you put this in a folder together with a JSON file, Robot Block would know where to find this component. And when you select the library here, it goes to that folder, loads it dynamically. You don't have anything, installs all the pip packages and all that. Right, so this is the hardware abstraction layer. That's basically the idea that it's mostly for prototyping. So I'm building a robot, for example, and at some point I realized that the sensors that I have are not as good as I would like for that purpose. So I just do change the sensor and then drop in, and for library, change the type of sensor and maybe some parameters here in arguments. And theoretically, by the next time a robot block runs, it will take the next sensor. So the new one. That's the main idea, to be able to rapidly prototype without having to write the drivers for everything. Now, another important thing is scripts and containers. Containers are not available yet, but scripts are and can be stopped. Like, let's see if my CSS is nice. Okay, so here are ROS run and ROS launch, which are basically launch servers. You write config files for them. It's a bit complicated, and I don't want to get into that yet, but you can wrap that using scripts and enable the functionality as you'd like. Containers are a step further, which basically allows you to download the container. So, for example, made one, and it's on the hub for RealSense, which basically just compiles the RealSense bindings and runs everything in another container, and then you could access it from your upper layers or whatever. Another important and nice thing is we also integrated with the ROS board, which allows us to view all the ROS messages and topics, and basically together with this UI, you can change stuff here. For example, for RP LiDAR, I could add an argument for the speed of the LiDAR, and then you would see the change immediately in here. You can also drive the robot, but it's right now it's charging. I'll actually show you the machine itself. So this guy.
Let's switch layout. There we go. Look at that.
It's the one you've seen on the forums and well, demo. It's just gonna move like from right to left, but I guess that's enough. Let me just hold the camera and yeah, just give me a second.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah, so apparently movement doesn't work. What a surprise.
Hey, you know what? That's all right. We
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's just funny. It did a couple of minutes ago, but yeah, performance shyness, I guess. Let me just reload something because it's annoying, but
I have a question.
sure.
If you go back to your UI, what are you plotting?
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, this is the LiDAR stream. So
right
if I move the robot or put my hands here, you can see that the floor changes. And this is the base component of mapping. So what happens here is the laser moves, and at each angle, it takes a measurement, right? And those and the SLAM algorithm would take these frame, and then the next one, and then the next one, and create a frame of the whole environment. Hopefully, this is going to be working by our next clinic. So it's definitely. So yeah, I can move it and show you that it does change the points in the map, but it doesn't build a whole map of the whole apartment yet. Yeah, so just another note on the topic, on the dashboard. Theoretically, all the output should be available in here, and you would be able to stop some features and enable them. For example, I would, if I do some, if my robot is on the table, maybe I'd like to turn off the motor driver so that the robot doesn't bump into stuff while I'm testing. This is not finalized yet, so it's just for the main process, but soon we're going to have that implemented.
Right on.
Yeah,
User question for you.
Sure.
From Andre, is the LiDAR planar or does it map up and down too?
This one is planar, so it's a 2D light. It's basically the cheapest one you can find. It's called RP LiDAR A1, I think. It's around €100, and yeah, it's great for thing. I'm not sure I would use this in a pre-industrial environment, but the idea is that it works the same way as the more precise and expensive ones, so the code doesn't change.
Let's go back to that a bit, because the whole promise of this abstraction layer for the hardware is that if you're a hobbyist and you have a bunch of cheap parts, you can basically JSON your way to and with some balena magic, a working little robot, or you can scale them up and you can add a bunch of them and have a little fleet. Like it's a pretty deep and impressive promise here that you're starting to build.
Yeah, Christian, I got to say this dashboard is absolutely gorgeous, and I love the
Thank you.
The local host name you've chosen for your device too is on point.
Yeah, well, I had a robot with all kinds of sensors, and then I had one with less sensors. So one was SmartBot, and the other, well, you can guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about the prototyping, the idea here would be to never be in the situation of writing firmware again. So you wouldn't.
Big promise, dog.
Obviously, it's just for example, let's just take a hobby robot, right? You have an Arduino, which you have to write the software to talk to your sensors and your motor driver and your whatever, and then you have to implement the serial parser or whatever way you communicate, and this can get pretty cumbersome. So the way with this, you would only need to connect your devices via R2C. Or the GPIO on your Pi, and then this layer would be completely abstracted from you. Obviously, this the value of this increases the more packages people add. But yeah, there's hobby robotics components usually fall into the Pareto distribution. Like 20% of the components are used 80% of the time, just because of the community around them and the fact that you can get information. So with a pretty small library, I think we can tick some boxes.
How would like an interested community member add support for a component that you may not have in your library already?
Right. So there's going to be a couple of things that we'll have to change about the way the library is implemented right now. I would like to make it a separate repository, and the user can just add a pull request, and yeah, add their own code. Now, there's only another thing. As you've seen earlier, there's this part, which is a bit ugly, which you have to know a bit of ROS to get around to. So I'd like to take the most popular kinds of messages and allow people to build the message. In this case, it's decently simple, like you have Angular and linear. But for example, in this case, yeah, the message might be a bit complicated. So I'd like to add some kind of utility class, so that and a dummy kind of package that people could download and then extend on that, and make sure it fits into the way we work. But yeah, it's basically anything that's a class that has obviously a constructor and a read for publishers and an update for subscribers. It's basically a valid package. So yeah, the hardware you're talking about can be anything. A stepper motor, I don't know. It's usually small parts. When we're talking about parts like RealSense cameras or Raspberry Pi cameras or complex sensors like the LiDAR, usually what you get is an official patch for ROS that you just run as a script and maybe add your arguments, and yeah. The idea is you can assemble a robot in JSON. Like if it mirrors your hardware assembly, it works.
And it's not just the electrical components, right? I think at one point in this project early on, you were wanting to build a place where people can also contribute STL files for like parts of the chassis. so that they really like to Lucian's Lego point. Like if you have the means, and you have the spare parts, you could literally just in a weekend spin one of these up.
Yeah. So shit.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you pulled back the curtain.
Did I stop the? Yeah,
He
nice.
did.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm sharing a screen on.
No
stream.
worries, man. You're doing great. I think you've gotten everyone excited about the robot actually moving, but so it's a little bummer that we can't see it today. But the next time.
I have a question for Christian.
Sure.
So, as I understand it, you're generating a abstraction layer so that you just plug something onto your board, and you say these pins are this thing, and now you have a very simple way of working with that. Then how do you start gluing this stuff together using this block?
Okay.
Like, where does your glue code go? Because this is very cool, but in my head, I'm like, so now I have this, but then what do I do with it to actually make something cool?
Okay. What I missed is that the main. So ROS has a great way of communicating between processes or between containers or between entities. And there's two ways: either publisher and subscriber or service. What RobotBlock does is expose all of the components as ROS endpoints. So you can, from an upper layer. So if I add another container, you would have no idea what the sensors are or whatever, but you would see the /scan topic, which is basically the point you saw on the map there. So it makes it compatible with ROS. So anything you built using ROS can already talk to the things that were exposed by RobotBlock. So it's completely dependent on ROS and the ecosystem.
I also have a robotics project that I think maybe we could probably merge the two.
Awesome.
Because it's not ROS, but it could use ROS.
But it could be.
Yeah, but this is so. What I'm working on is to do a block-based programming interface for programming balena-based robot. Just very simple, like move it around, follow a line, things like that. But the magic of what I'm working on is not the robotics, and it's not the sensors. It's It's just the UI and the fact that you can serve it locally off the Raspberry Pi or whatever you use to control it. You put something like this under the bottom, and now you have that easy way in for the new user without having to learn a lot about ROS, but also the ability to support any hardware they happen to have lying around. It could be a little.
Is this your residency project there, Lucian?
Some fusion happening. I like it. Sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh, it sounds like Lucian's doing his residency project finally.
Oh yeah, and speaking of which,
I've been doing my residency project for 5 years, Kyle.
Some folks have been following along since Christian literally broke ground on this, but keep on keeping on, right? Like, we welcome anyone to join in on questions, comments, additions to this project on his build log that exists here. If you have your own project, or Lucian, even you can kick up your own build log on the forums under the show and tell category. We love seeing everything that's been going on with what folks are building, their big ideas with balena. So go check it out. And with that, I think let's move on to our next topic here. We have Veepal who's joining, who has some general project questions they want to bring up about a very special project, I believe.
Yes.
Out of the recent Hack Week, one of our events that we have. Is it biannually at balena nowadays?
Yeah,
2 Hack Weeks here.
It's getting there, yeah.
Yeah. So Veepal, let's hear it.
Right on. The name is in contention still, but the project is called Meetbot, and basically it's a it's a Google Meetbot that is meant to sort of ease out things that you do in a remote company quite a lot. You do meetings, and it is meant to sort of ease those meetings in a way where it has several utilities or tasks that it does when it's inside that meet, and as it does them, it sort of makes.
Sure. Whoops.
And I'll start sharing my screen.
That was my fault.
Andrew's all over the place here.
Yeah, my fault.
But 1 second, I'll just
no worries.
clean my desktop once. Yeah, here you go.
When you have it ready and you add it, I'll change the layout. The human focus layout is different than the screenshot focus layout, ladies and gentlemen. StreamYard doesn't make it easy. There you go.
Right on. Here's the repo, and I'll turn off
Wait,
passport.
is this your work computer where you like tricked it out and you were showing it off?
Nope.
Oh, it's your other machine.
I can show it off, but let's have what's on your desk later.
That's right.
What's your Pop OS instance looks like. But here's how we sort of worked out like how Meetbot's gonna be is we'll sort of have a bot or a user basically join a Google Meet, and as it joins, we have control of the UI, and we press some buttons around in that UI to sort of do some tasks. So let's say you want to get when the meet starts, you want to auto record. Google Meet doesn't have that feature right now, and we want to sort of have that recording done. Like, let's say someone is missing that meeting and we really want that recording, and that can't be missed. So Meetbot comes in, auto records that meeting for you, so no one forgets about it. So when we were thinking about the project, right, we tried to answer common questions we try to answer common things that you say in a Google Meet. Things like, can you remember to record this meeting? One second, I'm just closed. Yeah, can you remember to close this meeting? One question is, hey, can you ping Martin? One question that always comes around to us is, can you send that link on the chat again? I was not here. So we took the problems that we see, or we actually saw the friction that we see in the Google Meet and thought we'll solve it with Google Meetbot that we did here. Hopefully no Google Meet engineers listen on to this recording and shut us down. But right now it's an open source project. You can take a look at this repo link. I'll send it in the chat for Andrew.
Oh yeah, hook it up.
And this is still in like development. We have been tinkering with it quite a lot, see how we can make it easier. Something that we really focused on, and that's what I wanted to talk about in the clinic, is how we can make it into sort of how we call it a product where more people can use it without sort of having something like balena specific tweaks that we would have done in the project, and we are trying to get rid of them or generalize or abstract it a bit more so anyone can start using it in their meetings as well, in whichever company you are, or if you run daily meetings or something like that. Even if you want to create new extensions for Meetbot, that's something that we have tried to do, with the architecture being really easy, that you can write your own extensions as well. So right now, as you see in this diagram right here, Meetbot, when it joins the meeting, it auto records. It auto records the voice captions that you have as well to a Google document. So you can, if someone has missed the meeting, they can check the recording and they can have live captions as well recorded. Meetbot also records the chat. So let's say you send the links, so you can give someone this document of the entire links that you have in the chat. And it has some Easter eggs as well, which we can talk about later. But that's what we did for our MVP as the hack week, is we want to at least get these things right.
Yeah, I
So,
saw the transcripts. I saw the transcripts in action for a few
oh,
meetings.
yes.
It was eerily accurate. It would miss a word here or there, but it was just as good as any other transcript system that you'd see running. And the Google Doc was updating like a few seconds behind the live conversation, which is just wild.
Yeah, you guys
Oh, yeah.
really understood the assignment too, because in that specific hack week, the goal was, how do we make remote ... work? How do we make remote work better? And this is a really cool way, not just for us people, but just as you said, you already made the repo public, so I'm really curious now to see how folks tested, adopted, tried out.
You want us to tell you how to make this more of a product?
Yes, indeed. And like how we can maybe improve it.
Do you want both barrels or just one?
both.
Okay, I mean, firstly, where's the deploy with balena button?
Ooh.
Right? I'm like, hey, this is a cool project, but like I just npm start like there is a balena push down the bottom, but it kind of does this hand waving about tweaking the settings or something, and it's like we don't need to do that. We can just do some sensible defaults and just say deploy with balena. Once you've definitely deployed, because you will deploy because this is such a good product, this is what you need to set. Also, your like lead in, just find somebody, talk to Andrew, get Andrew to write you the elevator pitch for the first couple of sentences here.
This
Right.
Andrew, me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man, I got hit with a barrel.
Meetbot will listen to Google Meet URLs to join to and perform various tasks. I'm thrilled. This is the chance to make this look like something that you really, really need. Transcripts are a huge feature. You could even just bullet point out the things that are really going to be useful here. I think the way you make this a product is the grip fighting. You need to get people to use this and see how useful it is day to day, and that has to be really, really easy for them. And to do that, you need to engage them as quickly as possible as soon as they arrive here. I think as engineers, we tend to get a bit sidetracked with like, you know, configuration options and curl headings and all of this sort of stuff. And nobody really wants to deal with that, right? As soon as I start seeing that stuff, I'm not interested. And I think that the fantastic thing about using Balena is that we offer like one-click setup for a lot of this stuff. And it's a perfect platform to deploy small bot like
If only we had some kind of platform to easily build landing pages for cool products that we want to publish. It'd be called Lander or something.
Yeah.
If only we
I forgot the name.
I mean, Lander helps here, but only aesthetically.
Yeah.
It doesn't help with the language or the kind
Ease
of
of use.
sell that you need to give to people.
Yeah. It's also a forcing function because you can't really have a good lander unless you have a good README and a good like core experience.
It is true.
Repo
So
experience.
I think you need to just make it really easy for people to get started with this very, very quickly. Maybe even just have like you can imagine just a getting started guide. Right? Here's the 5 things you do just to see this work, which anybody should be able to do relatively easily. And if you have to do things like secure authentication, tokens, and things like that, maybe give them a small tool to help them do that as well. You just need to smooth out that process, because once they get it, this is an amazing tool. The chat transcripts, the recording, the Easter eggs, it's brilliant. So you really need to focus on that 0 to 1 gap. Like, how do you go from knowing nothing about this to using it for the first time?
Right on. Yep.
70s infomercial style intro video, people. That's what you need.
Yes.
Are you tired of awful meetings where you lose all
in black and
confidence?
white?
Andrew jokes, and this is really cheesy, but I've actually said this to a few people lately. It really helps if you want somebody to be on board with an idea, is to start by describing the problem that you're solving. And if you want to do the real hard sell, you start by telling somebody that they have this problem, and they go, yeah, I have that problem. And you're like, well, here's the solution. and that it feels a bit cheesy, right, and a bit jokey, like an infomercial, but it does really help set the context for why I should even care about this in the first place. Like Meetbot. Okay, it's another chatbot, right? Like, do I use it for my sales site? And it's like, no. The problem is you want to auto record in Google Meet, which you can't do. You want to basically use a Google Assistant in Google Meet, which you can't do. You want transcripts and store those transcripts somewhere, which you currently can't do. Or even just the pitch of like, hey, did you ever make a decision on a Google Meet that you then forgot? No longer a problem, right? Here you go.
Some of those Easter eggs should be front and center, honestly. Like the "Can you hear me?" Easter egg, and Meetbot going like, "Yes, I can hear you." Those should be like top 3 bullet points easily. Like the transcripts first, and then some of those Easter eggs are just so common and useful, because anyone who's ever been in these remote meetings has gone through these things, and to have a bot take that friction away for you should be front and center. Even if they were added after the fact, jokingly or as an extension, they're huge features.
The other thing I would consider is having a permanent Meet URL right there with a Meetbot running in it at any point, and you can literally jump in. People can go and look at the transcript, and you just have that online all the time. And it's going to get vandalized, but just reset it reset it every hour.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool. As in, we can get this sort of the Meet URL can be shown on a sort of the public URL page that we could have on the Balena device this runs, and that way people can we can auto generate that Meet URL for the Meetbot to join every hour, and that way we can keep it updated. So people can go from the README to that page.
Yeah, just a big demo
that's
link right at the top. Like,
Yep.
see a demo, and it just drops you into Google Meet, and there's a bot there talking to you and transcribing everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this thing that you mentioned, Kyle, I just realized, can you hear me is not even an Easter egg now. You have made it into a feature, because when it answers your "can you hear me" prompt, it is basically confirming that Google Meet at least can receive your audio.
Yep.
Yeah, as in I've never thought of it. When I was creating it, was a pure joke.
Clinic
But
mission complete.
Linux user detected. I was
Good job,
too
Kyle.
focused on the meme.
Scope creep
But you have
since 2020.
No, yeah,
derived a
like,
meta
I know we like the joke that like our audio's not configured correctly because we're using Linux, haha. But I mean, can you hear me happens in every meeting all around the
Oh, yeah.
world, and can you see my
Definitely.
screen? This is a global meme as a result of the pandemic that, like, can you hear me, can you see my screen is going to be asked at least once for every presentation, and
Yeah.
saving other people having to unmute themselves to say yes or no, and just having and Meetbot just be there and just be on top of it, like, yes, I can see your screen, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Settles
That
it
is
all.
true.
Like,
2 questions for
And
you
then-
people.
Yeah.
If so, one, I know that maybe I'm behind the times, but a couple months ago, Google added their like calendar feature where it starts tracking your hours of meetings.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything, any kind of integration into here so that Meetbot can maybe like check time in seat? You know, if you have like any kind of better habits you're trying to build with like not being in meetings all day long, is that a thing that Meetbot can help folks do? Like, hey, people, you've been sitting for 4 hours, my friend.
I think that would actually just make people more depressed because they're not going
Yeah.
to get out of those meetings. And like,
Get
I
out
know,
of
and I
this-
have another
Get out
2
of
hours
this
to
arch
do.
call.
this is one more thing for you to dismiss so you can get on to your next meeting. Like,
Oh,
swipe
yeah.
that away.
All right,
Next
all
meeting.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, your release party has been running for 6 hours. Do you want to continue? It's like that Netflix notification that you get. You have been watching for 11 hours. Do you want to still continue on?
Okay. So I've got more if you want to hear it.
Second
Yes.
barrel.
Package JSON references the wrong repo.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
In many
maybe
places.
Yeah.
God, I got lost here. I got to jump back to the. I'm just looking through the source code. All right.
Oh, no.
running the bot. To get a bot to join a Google Meet, send a post request to the join endpoint with the Meet URL
okay,
as mentioned
So-
below, and then a 5-line curl request. No,
Yeah, this thing is definitely
if you
changing.
ever
So-
want anybody to use this, you have to fix this problem
No,
because
we-
no one is going to do this. All right. This is
thing-
like the Dropbox built entirely on Linux idea, right? Like it's just no go. I'm sure there's
something
people out
we
there
are
that are like,
fixing.
why would I make a feature? I can just use a curl request. But
yeah, this thing we are fixing with. I think that PR is in merge. At least I could show you, but we are having the dashboard that we have. Actually, I can show you the dashboard right now. 1 second.
Let's do it. Live demo, live debugging, live dashboards. I'm all about it.
authentication section. Don't make people edit files in the source code. Right.
That
That should
one I have
just
to
be
figure one out.
like every platform where you can host a service lets you set an MVAR. Just tell us what MVAR you need to use.
You have to figure out, like, Google's authentication is pretty crazy. Like, you have to create this entirely your own thing. Have to figure out a way around it. Both Theodoris and me have been very much sort of befuddled by it. Let's see. Here it is. So here's how the dashboard looks right now. But
I think you got to
there's
switch
a PR
your
already
shared
in
screen.
place. Yes, it's coming. 1 second.
Oh, okay. We need a new segment where Lucian just like rips through products. It's kind of like HGTV, right? Or I guess in the United States, it's like a home construction DIY kind of channel, and they're like, "Your kitchen sucks, and this is why, but I'm gonna help you make it better."
This is like, you can call it like Gordon Ramsay of of example projects. But this is how the Meet dashboard looks right now. There's a PR already in place. What we are thinking of is we'll have a small text box on the top to submit Meet URLs in, and then you can submit your Meet URL wherever you want the Meetbot to join. Click join, and there you go, it joins.
No.
So
No.
that could be
What? No, don't do this.
okay.
Just have
What could be
Meetbot.
better?
Yeah, just have Meetbot join all of them, and if you don't
Oh.
want it there, tell it to leave.
No, but how does it know which one to join? You have to tell it, right?
Why?
Like, why not?
It has an integration with. You have to. You're
calendar.
saying you have to authenticate all of this stuff. Like, can it not just
No,
look
no,
at
no,
your
no.
calendar and see what Google Meets
So
Google Meets you're in?
something that we were definitely planning is you can, like, for a balena context, we were thinking about Meetbot will automatically join every calendar admin meeting. So let's say we have, like, at balena we have brainstorms and we have some scheduled calls as well. So Meetbot can join those meetings automatically. That's what we were thinking. And the second thing is, let's say there is an impromptu meeting, right? Me, Kyle, and Andrew are having some discussion, and we want Meetbot to be there. You come here onto the dashboard, enter the Meet URL.
No,
Okay.
because the problem
Yeah.
is we're forgetting to start the recordings. Like, that's one of the features you're solving. And if I'm forgetting to start the recording, I'm definitely forgetting to go, okay, I've got to go to this balena device public URL, and then I got to do the thing, and then wait, where do I have to get the URL, and then I click join.
Right.
It's a no-go. So what you need to do is figure out a way to either you generate the calendar link via Meetbot, so Meetbot has the URL ready to go. Like, maybe you go to Meetbot and ask it to give you a link, and then it will just join that. Or you have Meetbot scanning your calendar for new calls that you are in, and joining them and seeing if anyone's there.
So there's a feature that we were thinking about, like, when in the Hack Week, this was like never done because it would require a little bit of changes that we were not comfortable
like anything
to do.
you do in a week is
Yeah.
Like, if you did anything more than install an npm package in a week, then it's fine, right? Like, that's not a problem. You don't have to preface with, like, we were going to do it, but I'm just you asked, like, how do I make this a product, and then you asked for both barrels, so that's what you're getting.
Full deal. No, like everything or nothing. But yeah, so something that I was thinking is we could improve on is when we have an integration in our primary chat platform, I would say, but it's now being replaced by something much cooler than that. We use FlowDoc, and in FlowDoc we have something called HuBot, which is our bot, which sort of creates these mute URLs. Let's say you want to get into a meet with your colleague.
So basically, when you ask HuBot to give you a meet link, it
Yeah,
also
that's where
tells
we are
Meetbot
thinking.
to join it.
Yeah.
The problem with that is this is now no longer a product that anyone can use.
Yes, that's why we didn't do it.
Yeah, that's a FlowDoc feature, and we're the only users of FlowDoc.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. That's why, like, we didn't even want it to go there, because then, like, this just goes into something that we need to change in the HuBot code. But that could be our way.
I like the dashboard. I wanted, like, being able to get observability over what Meetbot is doing. Like, if I can go there and see its activity feed, you joined this, and here's all the material and assets that were generated off the back of this link, and like, observability is a superpower. So having a dashboard is useful, but it shouldn't be a primary method for joining the meet.
That's true.
Otherwise, it just kind of, like, you've just generated significantly more friction than you had before. And now you're forcing the user to make a trade-off, right? Of like, do I even bother? This seems like a real pain in the ass, and I might just forget all of the information about where it needs to be, and, like, what do I need to do, and I have to copy and paste stuff, and I think you're copying and pasting at least two things here, which is kind of rough. So if you can solve that, you're in.
Yeah, I think I agree with Lucian that watching the calendar makes the most sense, that it's almost better for ad hoc meetings that might only last 5 minutes, or, like, pair programming doesn't need to be recorded and doesn't need Meetbot. But if it's in the calendar, and certainly in the admin calendar, we would want that to have a Meetbot in it. But if you're just in FlowDoc and you ping someone, let's get a meet, Meetbot probably doesn't need to be there unless you intentionally go and add it. So the calendar integration makes way more sense than a FlowDoc integration, is what I'm trying to say, which aligns with what Lucian was suggesting.
Now, it's funny you should mention HuBot, because one thing that popped into my head straight away was the cool thing about Hubot is that it's a generic framework for doing chatbots, and it integrates into lots and lots of different places. And you can actually jump in there and you can write your own script, and it has a really easy integration for doing this kind of functionality. And maybe taking the Hubot standard and using it for Meetbot could be really interesting to allow people to write their own scripts on top of it as a stretch goal. The other thing that would be amazing is webhooks. So, because that would just be mind-blowing. What you could then do is pipe the transcripts back into your chat platform of choice to get a real-time feed of what people are saying in a meeting in an asynchronous text format, which is pretty cool. But yeah, using an existing standard for how to build chatbots that you could sort of layer on top of this, give people a standardized way of augmenting Meetbot with their own needs is another value add you can give further down the line. But definitely not, it's exciting, but it's not a priority. The priority is making it immediately usable.
The immediate usability part strikes a chord with like past companies I've been at, where adding integrations, chatbots, etc. I mean, there could be another company watching this that's more like our culture, like, oh heck yeah, well, let's test it. Or you have an organization that requires like a bunch of red tape, even just for the simplest IT integration. So that's another thing to think through if you really want that like groundswell of people using this, trying this out. If they're part of an org that's like, we got to vet this, the easier we can make its implementation.
Well, it's just that
higher likelihood they'll use it.
The ability to say, hey, I just found this thing, here's their demo. And you just everyone in the company just jumps into the demo and was like, hey, this is really cool. Look at the transcript.
True.
Yeah, they vandalize it horrendously. It gets wiped clean.
That's fine.
But you know, they got that onboard thing, and then somebody from that group goes, well, there's a deploy with balena button. Bam, now I have my own local version. Right. But it needs to be that easy for somebody to do it. Like the ideal solution is that they barely even read past the first paragraph and they can experience what you're trying to give to them.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, the authentication definitely needs work because right now I don't have an alternative to sort of get those sweet Google Auth that we need to get the documents created for the transcripts. But yeah, I'll work on that. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, even if there are bits that are going to be tricky,
right.
If it's getting a token for Google, right, that is something that loads of projects have to do. Worst case scenario, there's probably a video on YouTube with 5 million views that teaches you how to do this. It's the other bits that you have control over that are going to be the real clinches.
So, people, you're actively working on this?
Yeah, as in me and the rest of the Meetbot team.
You also kick up a build blog on the forums, so you can live, work, and act like the rest of our community. I'm sure there are people on there who are like, oh damn, like I want to learn more, or hey, I want to contribute, and that'd be a really great source of feedback and work.
Right on.
Cool. I think that wraps it up. One more reminder, just because we're really close to the deadline, if you have a project, fleet, or block, please contribute it to the Balena Hub Challenge. A chance to win a cash prize and perhaps be featured on Etcher. So that closes out at the end of the month. Otherwise, thank you so much everyone for joining today. Beating up on products.
Prize, Andrew?
Go ahead. What's that?
What's the cash prize?
It's like 2,500 euros, right?
Nice. Like so, the easiest way to win, to be honest.
Convert that to whatever. We have to do it in euros because of terms and conditions and stuff. Otherwise, we have a better robot demo next week or so, right, Christian?
Hopefully.
We'll check that out. Hopefully, people, you use a lot of that product feedback that we got from Chief Carpentry Officer Lucian. And hey, questions are always welcome, whether here or on the forums. These sessions are great, and that we get to work out in the open, hang out, make one another's work lives just that much better. So huge thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good one.
All right. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.